All right, folks. So we are live now. So we are gonna learn building your agent without using a paid subscription. Please note this is a class that is going to be focused on using some free tier agents. Free tier LLM does not mean that you can use it for production. There are limits imposed by all of the companies because running an AI is usually very heavy on the servers. So you get a free tier to at least try out how do you build it, how do you start, and how do you start making your agents. All right, so today we will start with that's me. You can follow me on multiple places, and today we will learn about building an AI agent. I'm not sure how live that sync is. I've been seeing some lag. Oh, hey folks. Alrighty. So can you see my screen? How many people online? We'll just give it a couple of more minutes and we'll get started. All right, I still see some lag. I tried testing with a lot of software this time, but it's still some lag. I'm not able to share my screen properly. Alrighty, let me add a screen share again. Screen share device, screen share device. All right, let me know when you can see my screen. Streaming software itself is looking even more slower than I expected. Apologies, folks, for this. I do not know what's happening on the stream because my input is very different. Right, give it. So apologies for this. This is the new streaming software. It seems like what I'm seeing in stream versus what's there on the screen, there is a lot of lag. Still cannot see what my screen shows right now. Yeah, I can see that as well. That's the problem. I see something else on my screen, but somehow the stream is stuck on a tab. All right, now it's looking better. All right, now finally it's up. Yay. So I think I had just shared a tab on the streaming software. So now I don't have to worry. So today we will learn about building n8n. What we will be building today is an Indian zip code to location filter using AI. Then we will have we'll learn about a sample joke generator calling an API. So as we learned in the last session that an AI, essentially an agent, is a combination of an LLM, memory, and tools. So today we will try to use an open uh, source software that we will install on our machine, and I will walk through that what are the steps to host it on cloud as well for free, and you can build your own agents. And because and we will use Google Gemini gives a very free quota where you can actually your I transition, sorry, my bad. Okay, so Google Gemini gives a very generous quota of free tier every day. So you can use that to build an agent. Again, this is to try out, not to use it in production. You will face a lot of limits if you're trying to build something like production ready, doing actual job for you. You need to get a paid subscription for that. But this is basically to learn how to build an agent. Now my screen is set up finally. We'll transition to building an agent. All right. So first we need to do is install Node.js. If you do not know Node.js, so Node.js is a platform where Node.js is a programming language. It's and working environment as well. So you need to download that in your machine. You can search on internet how do you install Node.js on your machine, and then you can simply install. You need to have the latest version of Node.js to have the best secure environment to do that. You can program as well, but we are not going to talk about programming today. This is a completely no code chatbot class, and we will learn today. We will start with building a Node.js, an application called n8n. After you are installed with Node.js, just simply run this command. Generic time zone is equal to Asia slash Kolkata space npx space n8n. This is simply starting an n8n server in your local machine. I'll walk through the steps at how you can host it. If you are not want to do not want to install it on your local machine, you can install it on cloud for free as well. But again, this is will be given as an hobby, so you can actually use $5 to $10 credit on multiple application where you can install uh, uh, essentially you can install n8n and build your agents. So I will open localhost 5678. This is where my n8n is installed. Okay, so this is n8n is essentially this is a web application that is installed. It can schedule jobs, it can run your job on a set frequency, it can talk to APIs, you can build AI agents, and today we will learn about building an AI agent. Let's create a workflow. So essentially n8n creates workflows, and workflows means you can run programs and code and set up one after another. Om Sukha. How many of you are still seeing the static screen? Because I'm also watching my live stream and I can see that I'm on my different screen. Many. All right. I think it is getting stuck on the tab. Let me reshare it. I've added my all Google Chrome, not Show cursor, show full screen. It's not static for you. What do you see? Because I've opened n8n and I'm also watching my live stream and I see that it's stuck. Let me reshare. Okay, now you should be able to see the screens. All right, this streaming software is essentially supposed to be one of the best, and this is, I can see live page. What do you see on live page, people? Is my stream struck? All right, essentially it's back. I can, it's visible. Okay, so we'll start with adding a trigger. So trigger is essentially when, how a workflow starts. I'll probably have to, cut and create a different video out of this. Sorry for this. I'm new to this streaming. Okay, I'm using a paid streaming software, but essentially it seems like it's stuck again. So we'll start with finding a chat trigger. So basically what we are doing today is starting with building a simple chat bot which runs through an AI agent, and then AI agent actually does something. Okay, so our trigger will be chat, and I'll say on new event, and let's test this trigger. If I say hi, it turns green, which means it understood what am I doing. So this trigger is working, and then we will add AI agent. Now, in the last time we understood that what is an AI agent. I'm not adding any settings here. Let's look at what an AI agent does. Okay, so if you see, it has a chat model, it has memory, and it has tools. Okay, we learned already about that an agent is something that has a model or an LLM, a memory, or a tool. Why do we need memory? To have a chat history, to have contextual. Otherwise, an AI agent will not understand if you are repeating two messages one after another. So let's start with adding Google Gemini. So I'll use Google Gemini. I already have this account set up, and I'll just walk through the steps again. What do I see? And I'm going to use Flash, which is a low model. It will not take too much of my tokens today. Okay, so I'll take this Gemini Flash, and I'm closing this. And in memory, I'm just going to add simple memory. So usually it's done through a database, but you can add simple memory, which means as long as n8n is working, this memory will work. And I'm not changing any settings. It can see the context window of 5 messages, so I'm just taking 5, so it can understand context from the last 5 messages. Okay, till now, let's see if, and let's try to create an key. So I did not show how do we create key. So first we search Google Cloud, Google API key for Gemini, and you'll click the first link here. You'll land onto an AI studio. Okay, a lot of people are saying I'm not audible. Let me test again. Audio is connected. All right, today I have too many devices. Sorry. My audio is connected. Check, mic check. I can see the sounds coming. Voice is very low. Okay. All right. By commenting, can somebody tell me if I'm audible? Is it loud and clear? Voice is very low. Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll start with going to the console. We'll say get started. You'll see something like this. Then you click get API key. And then you click get API key. You create an API key. You call it whatever you want to call it. I'll say n8n. And you need to probably create a project. You can see a create project button here. You can create a project or use an existing project and you create a key and you copy that key from here. If you see this says free tier, then when you go on this Google model, you can see there is an option to create a new credential. You do not need to change host, just paste your key here and save it and you're done. Now when you are, I'm just going to use my existing account so that we do not run out of tokens because I was testing this morning. So I've already exhausted a lot of my free tier tokens. So I'm using another account, which is, I'm sure that it's not going to run out of tokens. Okay. So I have connected this. Now let's see if I type hi, what happens. Now, if you see this, it says, how can I help you? Now, if you see this has turned green, even the memory has turned green, which means the messages are saved into the memory and AI agent is responding. Is this an agent? No, it's just an LLM right now, which has a context memory, which means it can save up to last 5 message and understand your context. Okay. uh, if I ask a question and if I add another question on top of it, it will understand because the memory is attached. So let's start by adding an API for people who are joining new and do not understand what an API is. So when a human wants to interact with a machine, we use websites. So when on internet, if we are trying to interact with a machine on a remote server, we use websites. But when a machine wants to talk to another machine, they use API. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and we will just find some public APIs for this test and try to do something. Okay, so let's look at Indian Post Office pin code API. If you see, there is an API for it, and I'm just gonna copy this. Okay, those who do not know programming, a get URL is something which can run in browser like this. There are other ways to run API, but get URL essentially, if it does not require an authentication is making sure that you are authorized to use this application and you are verified to use this application. There are few public APIs which do not need any authentication. This is one such authentication. It probably has a rate limit, which means if you're hitting too many times, it will probably stop you. But if you're using fairly, this is free to use and you can actually run it in your browser just like this. So I'm just putting a pin code of New Delhi and it shows an API response. Now, people who have not used done programming will see how it's why it's looking like this. For me, it's decorated. For many others, if you're trying something like this, it may not be even decorated. It will look like a large text, but this is how machines interact with each other. So I'll just copy this URL. I'm just replace this parameter of pin code. If I use another pin code, it gives me some other post office in Bangalore. I'll just copy this and paste here. So let me see what tools we have. Now, if you see this tool, we have HTTP request tool, code tool. You can call another workflow. A workflow is something like we have built here. I'll just use HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is how websites and web services work over the internet. And if you see, it is also showing methods get, post, option, patch, delete. And in the API documentation, we saw this API says get. So we will use get API here and paste this path. but I don't want to hard code 560035, which is the pin code that I've tested. What I will do is I'll change this to expression on n8n and use double curly braces, and now I can write functions. Essentially, I am, because AI will fill these values. So because when you're chatting with an AI agent, you might say, tell me which location is this, which pin code belongs, which location has this pin code. Okay, so I'll just replace this. I'll use a function called dollar for from AI, and if you see this function, it is showing like Excel formula. It's showing some values that you need to enter: key, description, type, and default value. Okay, so I will give a name called pin code, which means AI should tell me this value as pin code. But how do AI understand this is a pin code, or it has to give a pin code as a value? So I'll give it a description: a 6-digit pin code for India. Okay, and I'll say the type is number so that it tries to replace a value, and default value I'll just put a double quotes, which means I'm not giving a default value, otherwise you will not get a response. We can check and execute step. Let's test some pin code 110063 or 64, whatever I've typed. It says tool execution problem, did not expected at pin code. uh, okay, because we said it will be filled by an AI. Okay, let's see if we test this now. What pin code has the location? What pin code is 560035? Okay, now if you see, it is saying I cannot make the HTTP request for pin code, but I can tell you to make Tom's location. Would you like me to make a location? Why it did not call the tool? Makes an HTTP request. Rather, we should give a description. Search a location by pin code. Okay, now if you see why I'm giving this description, this is how AI will understand when to call this tool. Okay, when we describe a tool, this is how we define it. In MCP server, you don't have to define it, because MCP server by default provides all the APIs like this. They actually tell AI this is a description of an AI, this is the parameter that we are expecting, this is when you should call it. So I am just simply giving a description like this, and you don't need to save it once unless this is auto save. Okay, I'll say okay, search 110065 for me. Now if you see, the HTTP request is called, and if you see it again, it went back to the agent. Why did it come to the uh, agent? Because now when a tool calls, AI will again understand the response from the API. So all the text that you saw on my screen, now AI is trying to understand it and trying to give you a response. Okay, now can you say search 560035 for me? And if you see, it is giving it's from Karnataka, Bangalore. Okay, any pin code you want me to search, just ping along, but I think there is a delay, so by the time I'll wait for your input, it will be gone. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? All right, now we try to add some other tool. Okay, now what I'm showing is that an agent can have multiple tools. You can connect multiple. Is it an agent now? Yes, Roshan, this is an agent now, because it has an LLM, it has a memory, and it is calling tool. But right now it is single purpose tool which has a very definite output. Not necessarily an intelligent agent, but that's an agent. But let's say an agent can do multiple tasks. Let's add more tools to it. Okay, let's add another tool. We'll search public APIs for testing, and I'm again taking some public APIs. Okay, now there is a random joke API. Okay, let's take this API. There is a path to it, and it basically gives me a joke. I may not be that good, but I'm taking this as random joke. It does not require any parameter, so it's just randomly creating an output. Let's connect this as a tool. Again, I'm adding an HTTP tool, and I'll paste this URL and say generates a random joke and connected. So now the agent has two tools. Okay, and I'll rename this as well. It's good to always rename your tool. So I'll say pin code checker, and oops, and I'll call this random joke creator. Okay, now if I say can you tell me a joke, now if you see, it did not call pin code checker, it actually generated a joke. The joke may not be that good, but it actually is calling an API. In your business environment, you can be calling your system API, which probably could be a CRM, could be anything that actually has a business, and you can generate an output from it. And the agent now knows which tool to call when. Okay, any questions so far? Yes, this is an basic agent that we have developed. This is to gain an understanding that agent is ready. We are not coding yet, but we are learning something new terms. Today we learned about API. Today we learned about finding some public APIs. Today we connected some tools. All right. Now I'll give a more realistic scenario. Let's try to add a Google Calendar to it. Then I'll ask AI agent to book a meeting for me. Before I share my screen, let me open my Google Calendar. Okay, if you see, I do not have, I'm just deleting all the calendar, no event available in my calendar. Now I'll add a Google Calendar link. So Google Calendar is also a tool. So n8n has hundreds of tools available and you can connect anything. So let me add another tool to it. I'll click this and I'll search Google Calendar tool. Okay. And I have already pre-configured Google Calendar account. Let me show you the steps that how Google Calendar is done. You first go to Google Cloud Console, and you probably need to create an API project, or any project, again similar to how we did in Google Studio. So I'm creating a project, and then you go to here, go to APIs and services, go to enable API and services. First you need to enable your Google Calendar API. The way you do it is you add enable API services, search for Google Calendar, and you will see an enable option here. For me, it's already enabled. Once that is done, then you go to OAuth, then send screen. Now, OAuth is open authentication, which means Google uses a protocol called open authentication, which basically authenticates you with Google Gmail ID for different applications. Okay, and here you create a credential. I think, where is, okay, I'll go to clients, and we'll create a client. Okay, I'll create a client. I'll call it a web application. I'll call it a client. Redirection URL, because my n8n is running on my local machine. So I'll just copy this. If I try to, let's first try to create a new credential. I'll copy this path, which is local ID, which is my local to URL, and I'll paste this in JavaScript origin, which is for security. It's better that you do it. And I'm putting this location, and then I'm adding this redirect URL here, which we have just copied. If I create this, I'll get my client access and token. I need to copy this and paste it here. Client ID and client secret, and then you can sign in with Google. You will see something warning that this app is not verified. Go to advanced options on browser and enable it. Let me just try and do it. So I'll just copy this client ID, paste it, copy this client secret, paste it, and if I see sign in Google is now enabled, I'll click it. I'll use the account for which where I want to connect my Google. Now you will see that it is saying not allowed, but I say okay, go to this unsafe, because I know it's not unsafe, it's my application. I'm just saying, I don't know why it's saying some rubbish names. Okay, now if you see, my account is connected. Okay, now I have the credentials. Now my Google account is connected. Now once this is connected, I'll give a tool description. Okay, create an event in Google Calendar. Okay, and I'm creating an event. I'll call an event, and from drop down I'll see my calendars. I'll in the this I'll choose, I click this, say detect automatically defined by application. I say defined model, again added by application. I'll add a description and again say okay, AI please fill it. And plus, I for AI is more understanding, because start and end are self-descriptory. Description could be confusing, which is title or which is the description inside the uh, in your meeting invite. So I'll give a description, the description of the event. Now here's something tricky. For title, you use the field called summary, and again I'll say AI please fill it, and I give a description for AI to able to understand that this is where you need to fill. I'll say the title of the meeting or the event. Okay, and we are done. Now this Google AI agent is also connected, and I'll just rename it as I said, it's good to always rename it. I'll say create a meeting. Okay, now you can add another Google node for checking if the meeting is not there. Okay, this is what I usually face. I have a lot of meetings in a day, so I could, if you notice, it was create event, it could be get an event, so I could use a get event just to see if there are meetings involved. Now if you remember, in the start I gave the time zone because the meeting requires time zone, so we started with time zones, and this is how it understands that you are in Indian time zone, and your meeting invite, when you say 10 a.m., this means 10 a.m. of India. Now AI agents has too many things. Now AI will not get confused, and plus the AI agent does not have a context at what is the date today, because as we know, LLMs have a cutoff date. LLMs were trained off a date. So I'll go here in the change and I'll say define below, and I'll give a description here. You are an AI agent. You can search pin codes. 2, you can create a joke. 3, you can book a meeting. Okay, so it has created a description, just not too confused. I'm giving it some context. Today is, and I'll give again a curly expression like how it did. First I choose expression, then I'll say dollar now. If you see, this is turned green, which means it's reading. This date is required because the tool was trained on a this sorry LLM was trained on a certain date, so it needs to know what date it is today. I am giving today is this, and now because I would want to copy the text message that is coming from a chat, I would want to use it here. You, then I'm giving you have to answer the question from the user, and then I say question, which is $json.chat input. Now, how do I know what to use $json.chat input? Before I deleted, I noticed that I'll just copy this again. If it is a connected below, this is how I know the previous message, whatever the trigger was sending, it was sending it as json.chat input. So I'm just using and I'm creating a custom intent. Okay. Now, if you see, it is resolved the value, the date time is resolved, question is given, and let's test the agent now. Can you book a meeting for tomorrow 10 a.m. regarding an appraisal for the team? I would want to see everybody's appraisal tomorrow. I'm giving some description so that it comes as this meeting will be for 1 hour. Okay, let's see what happens. Google Gemini is getting called and it is called a create a meeting. Let's see if it has created a meeting for me. Look at this. The meeting is created and it has discussed everybody's appraisal. And this is how we do build an agent. Now the agent is super smart. It can you can connect multiple workflows. Now this started from chat. You can trigger it manually. You can have an AI agent that has a static task. You can even have a cron job. So let's try to create another trigger. Okay, let's add a trigger, cron schedule trigger. So you can actually run a job that runs everything. So probably if you have WhatsApp, if you there are different plugins that people create, so you can run this, which reads your calendar and probably reminds you on WhatsApp that what are the important meetings that you do not need to do. And there are hundreds and thousands of applications that are available, not thousands, at least hundreds of applications available in n8n, and you can connect it like a tool. Earlier they could show it, but you can search whatever you want to connect. Let's say you want to call an S3 bucket. So if you're techie, you know what an S3 bucket is. You want to run a Python code, you can do that on a schedule frequency or calling an AI and then passing few parameters to a code and then run it. You can even do Spotify. Let's see what Spotify has. You can actually get an album. So if you can authenticate your Spotify, you will see what you can do. There are so many actions that are already available in Spotify. And if what all of these actions will get compressed when you are using as a tool, because for to be able to do that, Spotify must have an API. So what we can do is resource player, album, libraries. You can probably have an agent that only searches the latest by an agent by an artist and sends you an alert. How cool is that? Any question on this? So in roughly about 40-45 minutes, we have built an agent that can do 3 tasks. Okay, now it is intelligent enough. If I say search pin code 400018, which is Worley, I believe. Now it is taking decisions. It knows that which tool to call when. It called pin code checker and it gave me an output. The pin code of 4001 is to post office in Mumbai, Worli and Worli Naka non-delivery. So it is already very intelligent agent. It can take decisions. And I'm using a very light model. Even if you're using paid subscription, Google Flash will not cost it. But if you want to build a very advanced agent, I have used Gemini. But if I add multiple model, look at what we can do with Claude. Okay, let's see. Chat, you can analyze a document, you can upload a file, you can list a file, you can analyze an image, you can generate a prompt, you can improve a prompt, you can templatize a prompt. So everything that we have learned in the last session, where you can use multiple prompts, you can call another AI agent. If you have a paid subscription and you want something to run in the background, you can use this. If you don't want to come on a computer, just deploy n8n on a server. n8n standalone says cost around $24 for n8n, but if you now will show that how do we use n8n for free. Can you give me a three tasks together and choose? Okay, so somebody saying, can we give us three tasks? That depends how intelligent the model is, Sanket, but I think it will still do. Okay, okay. Search pin code 110018 and schedule a meeting to go to that place tomorrow at 11 a.m. So I'm giving a link task. So first search whatever location comes, go there. So it has called, now it's calling pin code checker, came back. Now it also called the meeting. So look at the response it gave. The way pin code correspond to various offices. West Delhi also have scheduled a meeting for tomorrow 30th at 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. to visit pin code 11001 at location, and it says cover both the location. Let's look at my calendar. It has done it. It has also scheduled a meeting. So it has not only called one location, but it has also scheduled it. Okay, let's try where the pin code was only one. I think for what we were trying out, this was only one out. Okay, so it says pin code 56003 belongs to Carmela Ram in Bangalore. I've scheduled a meeting tomorrow. It says visit to pin code location. Okay, and it has added as a description here as well. And that is why I'm saying you need to add more tools to get your meeting invite as well. And it says go visit this area. Now we'll just look at how do we deploy n8n for free. There are two ways. One is ethical way, which you can use it for free for 1 month, or keep on paying $5 later. The other way, there are hacky ways to probably use multiple servers that gives you server for 15 minutes, and then you create a cron job that actually hits that server every 10 to 15 minutes so that your server stays alive, so you have to pay absolutely no money. I will not cover that. I'll probably share that on the community, but I will not cover that here. So let's search something called n8n railway. Okay, n8n railway. Now you'll see something called n8n, and then you simply click deploy, and you are done. And the same steps to sign up your n8n and generate your key for however we've done is done. I've already have one instance deployed, and I've not. Okay, this is my n8n server. Okay, now if you see, this is a URL n8n production up.this, and I have my n8n deployed. I'll just show you the steps to activate. Okay, I've just created my email, and you have to fill this form. I'll say I am not using for work. I got through no Google, and it says enter received on license key, so you'll get a free license key. And eventually you will get some license key like this. Okay, it should be on a way. Should take a minute. I think I already have a license key, so it's asking. So simply you go and copy this and paste your license key here. I think the new one has also come. I'll just copy this. I'll delete this probably instance so that you will not use this license key. And I'll say enter activation key and activated. Now I have my n8n running on a server for free, and you can run it for as low as $5 a month, and then you can build your own agents. Now my agent was smart enough to call multiple things all at once, provided you give it a better description. If you're using hundreds of tools, building an MCP server is better, which requires some sort of a coding, but this is how you build agents. And today we build this agent for free. Now you can come up with use cases, You are part of a community, you can ask question. I'll open, you can discuss on general discussion on the community, and we can actually discuss on some of the use cases that you're trying to solve. And I think this was it for today. This was a rather a short session. Any questions before we end this stream? All right, I'll please like, share, and subscribe if you are new to this channel. If you are following, if you have added to this group, these are my coordinates. You can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on YouTube, you can follow on the WhatsApp community. This is all we had for today. This was short, this was fun, and we built an AI agent for free.